Zambia exemplifies the profound injustice of climate change. While the average carbon footprints in Zambia are incredibly low at only 0.36 tons per person per year, which is less than 1/10 of the UK average, the country is still facing an environmental catastrophe. An extensive drought in 2021 left over 1 million people in need of food assistance, making it clear that Zambia has been greatly impacted by climate variability and change for the past 30 years. According to Zambian climate scientist Malako Kabisa, the most significant impact has been the rise in temperature and reduced rainfall, which have led to detrimental climate shocks, including droughts and floods. These changes in weather patterns have resulted in crop failure, livestock deaths, and a decline in the country's GDP. Smallholder-dominated agricultural sectors, which rely heavily on adequate rainfall, have suffered immense losses due to droughts. While attributing specific events directly to climate change can be challenging, the IPCC has already observed all of these impacts in southern Africa, and unfortunately, things are likely to get worse. Local evidence and projections suggest that rainfall will become even more variable, leading to more frequent drought incidents and a shift in the production season. Nevertheless, these stories of climate breakdown rarely make the news. In fact, a comprehensive review of the most underreported humanitarian crises of 2021 ranked Zambia as the top entry. For climate activist Veronica Mulna, the injustice is unmistakable. The climate crisis affects certain regions of the planet more severely than others, she asserts. Historical and present-day injustices have disproportionately exposed Black, Indigenous, and people of color communities to intense environmental hazards compared to predominantly white communities. The groups most adversely impacted by climate change are Black and economically disadvantaged communities. As a continent, Africa suffers the brunt of climate change while being left behind as the rest of the world embraces the transition to a low-carbon economy. Without considering the perspectives of those most affected, climate solutions will only exacerbate exclusion and inequality. This exclusion extends to international negotiations, where Mulna recounts that her country has been marginalized. African voices lack proper representation in climate summits, sidelining climate justice, she explains. The lack of access to vaccines and funding for African countries during COP26 prevented numerous delegates and activists, including myself, from participating in the negotiations. Racism and white supremacy have long suppressed African voices within environmental policies. The disparity between those responsible for driving climate change and those bearing its full weight in countries like Zambia is a large-scale manifestation of recurring local environmental injustices. In the early 1980s, environmental campaigners in the United States identified an alarming trend of landfill sites and incinerators being disproportionately located near Black neighborhoods. Recent surveys of waste sites reveal that communities of color are still frequently exposed to higher levels of pollution, indicating a possible correlation between race and environmental harm. In 1993, Robert Bullard reflected on the undeniable impact of racism on the likelihood of exposure to environmental and health risks in his book Confronting Environmental Racism. Whether intentional or due to institutional negligence, communities of color residing in urban ghettos, impoverished rural pockets, or marginalized Native American reservations face some of the most severe environmental devastation in the nation, he declared. Bullard is widely regarded as one of the pioneers of the environmental justice movement, which persists in its fight against inequality to this day. Black communities continue to resist the establishment of coal power stations and chemical plants.